slavery.
We need to understand that we really don't know that we don't know. Most Americans have been brainwashed to believe that they are free. You know, all of that home of the brave propaganda. If you think you're already free, you wouldn't make any effort to become free. But free from what?
And as I will share with you tonight, the majority of the people in the world, and I'm not going to get into all of the details about that, but the majority of the people in the world, 99% of them live in slavery today. So you have to make up your mind as to which world, which I you're going to be. Am I a slave or am I a sovereign? And the problem that so many people face who take their initiation to be sovereign is that it's so hard to be sovereign when all of your life you've been a slave. The Emancipation Proclamation of 1863 did not set any slaves free. Because all of the people you will encounter, nearly all of them, will discourage you because they have a slave mentality, they think like slaves, and they challenge you to continue to think like a slave. As they reduced their people from their sovereign capacity and forced them to join nation states, then they were able to issue statutes, codes, ordinances, resolutions on them. And a statute is not a law, it is corporate policy. If the state comes in and says, you're not treating your children right and we want to take them, right? The first thing you have to say is, state, do I have a contract that says I gave my children to you? Did I, at what point, produce the contract? Produce the contract. If you send me a bill and understand that if you belong to the corporate board state, you can't make these arguments because you do have a contract, which is the birth certificate, which is the marriage license.
And so if the people are not aware of that, they don't suspect what that license is for. That license is a movement passport. So they can make sure that you couldn't buy your way out of slavery. And also they made sure that you would never handle money anymore. So up until about 1964, they had government agents out systematically giving people Federal Reserve notes, fiat currency, telling you to get your grandmom's gold watches and the gold coins, and they'll give you $1 for 2 silver quarters, and they'll give you $2 for a silver dollar, and or $1 for a 50-cent piece, and everybody got all their silver out. That's because they was getting all the real money, because that's the only lawful money, out of your hands, because they had every intention to force everyone in the family to work to survive.
As far as I'm concerned, it's all one great big smoke-filled mirror of a belief system. You believe that there was a debt. You believe that this is money. You believe that this has actually got value to it.
So in order to bureaucratize slavery, they couldn't get rid of it, but they had to veil it.
It's a belief system. If we stop believing in this, what's left? I mean, if this really truly had value, here's a nice little test for you. If this really truly had value to it, could you go to the Federal Reserve and get bullion for it like we used to? If they don't give it to you, then this isn't worth what they said it was.
Hi, I'm Elliot Salter, and I've been a pawnbroker for over 40 years. I've been doing it since I'm 8 years old, and I love gold. Guy called me up and wanted to know if we made loans on gold bars, which we hear all the time. And I said, sure. So he brought it in, and it was a gold bar from the Spanish galleon Atocha. And the galleon sank in 1625. This bar was a real piece of history. He had all the documentation, and it had notches cut out of it. It had a serial number on it. It was here for a couple of years. He paid interest on it, and he finally picked it up. Another real interesting story, one day I was at the counter, and a customer comes in and asks one of the guys at the counter, can I borrow a pair of pliers? And the guy says, well, yeah, but you got to promise to bring them back, because people borrow tools and they don't return. He goes, well, no, I'm not going anywhere with them. So he gave him the pliers, and the guy pulled out a bad tooth. And here's the tooth right here.
So the deal was with the fiat currency, you do the same work, but then they would call it Job. You know, like in the Bible, Job, take everything from you, make you curse your God. That's where job come from. Give you a job with the same expenses that they would have to deliver, say, to Smith, and would have to leave the corporation or the plantation. Both the same.
I was at Santa Monica Beach a few years ago walking in the sand, and I spotted something that glittered, and I looked down, and lo and behold, I found this gold bar. $10,000. Doesn't look like it, does it? And here it is in my little greedy hands. $10,000. All mine. It's wonderful, and it's all mine. I see gold every day. It comes and it goes.
Well, they needed to get the woman out the house because the plan was to destroy the family. So the deal was with the fiat currency, they could create just like currency, just like you turn on electricity, turn down the volume, restrict the water, the flow of the water, and you don't see their face. All you see is each other's face, and you don't recognize it as a third-party action because you think you have money and didn't know that you had script.
We really don't know that we don't know.
Because Federal Reserve notes, they have no value whatsoever. They're backed entirely on the full faith and credit of the U.S. population.
See, it was in, like, say, up until the late 1800s, most of the people that were held to forced servitude, the different plantations or corporations had the logistical problem of, like, say, delivering to you certain amount of goods for certain services that your company might render our company, and of course our workers or our slaves or servants were beneficiaries that, because like cattle, they had to be cared for, and they couldn't let you go because you might run away. That's another reason why the license was thrown up too, and that agreement with the several states.
You know, so without you backing these things up, they have no value at all.
It's a belief system.
Use the fiat, or if they use a script, they could give you the impression that you're making progress. Same finance, and then they'd send you wouldn't run because now you think you're getting paid.
They have no value at all.
No, this is serious. This is how it works. So you're under the impression that you're getting paid when you actually are not allowed to hold money. This is where the deficit comes in. That's why you keep going in debt, and more people in your family are working, but the national debt, it keeps getting bigger. They're really labor certificates. And then the license is used to transact any business you do with those instruments so they can calculate, keep a database, and regulate how you're moving it so they can deal with the resources. Do you understand? So the instrument is used as a database to check what you spend, where you go, what you have. And everything that you possess that's of any quality or any economic power, as far as a house or an instrument of transport, like a vehicle, a conveyance, must be registered to the state. That is used in commerce. So it really isn't yours, but it gives the impression that it's yours. That's why they'll say registered to the state of New Jersey, house registered to the state of New Jersey, then they give you a deed. And so most people think a deed is allodial, correct? So they work all their life, pay this house off, and they think they got an allodial piece of property because they got a deed. Well, a deed is a rental fee under feudal law. It's not a title of possession. In other words, you're possessively caretaking for it, which is why after you receive that deed, you still pay taxes at a high rate that's just as big as your mortgage when you first